You know, now let's look at a typical, like I said, I mean, this session now is about deepening our understanding of strategy and strategic thinking. And let's look at one brand or one company that I would say I'm very passionate about. And that's Uber. And I'm sure there's hardly anyone in this session who either has not heard of Uber or who has not used it. So I'd like to share the Uber case study with you. And look at from day one. Like I said, the guys set a very clear goal. Remember, I started by saying, if you don't have a goal, do not bother going into a strategy session. Do not bother going into strategic thinking because it's a complete waste of time. It's like building a house if you don't have a foundation. It's like starting a journey or starting your car if you don't have a destination. It doesn't work. You know? So these guys basically, they were very clear. They were so clear on what they wanted to do. You know, Garrett Camp, you know, and Travis, I think they went to France for something during very cold winter, very cold, chilly winter. And it wasn't that easy getting a taxi. I mean, for those people who've been, who have traveled abroad for many years, I mean, I was telling Rotimi this story sometime in the week on how I see this, how Uber has changed how we enjoy our trips when we travel now. In those days, when you get into America or you get into Europe or anywhere, you know, especially in America, you have to take those expensive limousines from the airport, and they're very expensive. And then you have to wait for your host to either take a vacation or take time off to be able to take you to different places of your different destinations. Otherwise, if you have to use their taxi, then you still have to pay heavy dollars for them. So it was very expensive. So I can understand why these two guys, Garrett and Travis, you know, went to Europe and had to pay $800, you know, to just from one point to another. And that was what ignited this whole Uber. So you can see there was an insight. There was a clear insight. There was a goal. And they said, how do we make transportation as reliable as running water? Everywhere for everyone. I mean, you can see the quality of thinking from an issue that they experienced live, you know, to how they transformed it into an idea. And you will see how they went through the strategic thinking process to be able to get out what I'll call today a perfect solution to a need that everyone needs. And it wasn't just about, you know, creating that reliable transportation. They actually went beyond that. They also said, we will welcome people from all backgrounds who seek the opportunity to help build a future where everyone and everything can move independently. So the guys were very clear on their mission. They were so clear on their goal. And today, what has happened? There's a game-changing story, which everyone can connect with. And I'm sure many of you know this story more than me. Today, they have disrupted the market. So the Uber, the disruptive peer-to-peer ride-sharing service, has practically decimated the traditional taxi cab industry. I was also sharing with a friend during the week. In our heydays, you know, as brand managers and assistant brand managers, when we used to travel a lot across the country, it was always tough to get taxis as well from the airport. You know, and when you want to get these taxis, what happens? They charge you an arm and a leg. You know, there was no competition. It was just a monopoly. So when you land at the airport, you were just there. It wasn't structured. So you were basically, you know, you had to depend on them. And at times you even struggle with the cars that were not properly assessed and all that. And you can imagine how difficult it was then. Then if you needed to go to the airport, you needed to call a friend to go and drop you and all that. So the issues were just there and the opportunity was as large as anything. But today, these guys have created an idea that have basically decimated the traditional taxi cab. And I'm sure if you look at the population today of the taxi cabs versus what it was many years back, you see we now have a structured transport system created by this game-changing idea. And it's the same whole process. You know, these guys, after they went through that challenge, of not being able to get a taxi on time and paying $800 for just a trip, a destination trip from point A to point B, they came back and did a deep analysis and they did a strategic audit. They reflected. So they gathered a lot of information, as you can see at the top of my screen. Information gathering, what we call heavy lifting. They weren't lazy about it. More often than not, we get lazy about strategy. We're always in a hurry. You can't be in a hurry when you're going through a strategic thinking because you have to get it right. It's got to be deep and it's got to be done very well. And I'm sure they went to different countries, they gathered information, how people move, the challenges with transportation, the cost of transportation and all. They did all that survey, research, audit, and reflected on all the responses they got. And of course, based on those responses, they got their insights and then their aha moment. And the aha moment was when they realized that this opportunity is not just for America alone, or it's not just for Europe alone. Everyone wants to move. Everyone needs to achieve their dream. Everyone needs to achieve their goals. And for them to achieve their dream and goals, they need to move. And we will help people achieve their dreams. We will move people from point A to point B. We will make transportation as reliable as tap water. And when I mean tap water now, that's where tap water actually works in developed countries, And then I went ahead to formulate the ideas, and of course, the rest is history today. We all use Uber pretty well. So that is a process of proper strategic thinking. And you can see their Uber strategic plan. So this is what we call a board. At the end of the day, your strategic plan is summarized in a board like this that clearly shows you how robust you've thought through the entire business. And you can see everything feels so covered in this, from their key activities to their key partners, key resources, their value proposition, their revenue streams. Everything is so well captured. This is a plan. So the question I'll ask everyone listening to me today, when you finish your plan or when you finish your strategic process, what do you get? What do you get at the end of that strategic process? What does your strategic plan look like? Does it end up to something as very detailed as this? If it's not, then know that you've not done your plan well. Just know that you've not done your plan well. The taste of the pudding is in the eating. And for me, a good strategic process is, at the end of it, is when you have a good plan. Because your plan will tell you if you've gone through the processes with the kind of depth, with the quality of people, with the time and resources required to go through that whole strategic thinking process. Like I said, I'm not going to waste time on this. This is something we can all review and share with each other. I'm sure Marketing NG team will share with you, so you can always review this to see what it's like at the end of the day. Now, it's not just Uber. I'm sure we also have we've seen a couple of other companies that have done so well, both international and local. And I'd like you at your spare time, you can just take a look at an Airbnb. I mean, Airbnb is an amazing product idea that, again, has gone through this rigorous strategic thinking process to be able to develop a plan that has been well executed today. I don't think there's any hotel chain that is as big as Airbnb. None. Literally every street has an Airbnb. So these guys have created what I'll call almost like a hotel chain without building one, without putting one block into the soil. I mean, how amazing. I mean, you can imagine the Zooms of this world, the Facebook, the Google. So all this, I mean, just read about these companies and how they were able to develop products or how they've been able to develop their businesses, through rigorous strategic thinking process, having clear strategy in mind and being able to implement that strategy, by almost a flawless executional process. And then in Nigeria, I mean, we've got a couple of good examples. I'm not going to waste time to go through each and every one of them. Biggie Cola, I used to work in the cola industry, and I know how this company came in, saw the opportunity, to basically sell value price product, penetrate 80% of Nigerians who are within the DE socioeconomic class who don't want to pay more for the more expensive brands. And today, Biggie Cola has just become such a big brand. I mean, their market share their market share is just amazing, unbelievable. How they're challenging a Coca-Cola and a Pepsi from nowhere. I mean, same thing with Origin. When I launched Origin, I mean, it's quite an interesting one as well. You know, how we're able to basically, through the strategic thinking process, pick an idea from the marketplace. And through that rigor of strategy and thinking through it properly, we're able to develop a product that in 18 months became such a phenomenal success, almost raking in close to 30 billion in 18 months. I'm not sure there's any beverage brand or any launch product that has been launched in this market, at least within this category, that has this level of runaway success, you know, within the first 3 years of launch. It's amazing. And again, I know what we did. It took the same rigor that I've explained to you to manage the process of development, the process of launch, and of course, of managing the brand. And I'm sure those who are managing the brand today have also taken up from the shoulders of those that launched it, you know, to do a phenomenal job. And then, of course, I mean, if you come to the IT space, we've heard of FluterWave, ULesson, and of course, even our AirPs are local examples of people who have seen opportunity and have basically, you know, through some real deep work. I mean, how did AirPs in less than 4 years have become such a phenomenon, not just in Nigeria and West Africa, and are now doing sport international trips? You know, these are not just by being tactical. You can't build these brands, you can't build these businesses, you can't build this level of success, these organizations I'm showing on my screen today, without basically going through a proper or having a proper strategy and a strategic thinking process to take you on that journey. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if there's anything I want you to leave with today, it's this slide. Because many of you who are sitting back will be asking, so yeah, I mean, strategic thinking process, it's something we do already. But like I said, you know, one of the critical things I want you to really take home today is the fact that this is a reminder, this is a wake-up call, this is reigniting what you know that is sitting somewhere and you've not been using it. You know, the essence of this masterclass is to make each and every one of us better at this process of strategic thinking. And then for many of you who are leaders, you know, or even for those of you who are managers, whatever position you hold in an organization, it's an opportunity for you to go back and reflect. You know, how exactly have I been driving the strategy for the business that I work for? Whether it's your private company or it's an organization you work for, it's an opportunity for you to reflect. I'd like everyone to go back today, look at your plans again. You know, look at your plans again and reflect. But ultimately, some of the takeaways I want you to leave this session with, especially with the Uber case study and other game-changing brands I've also shared, whether it's Airbnb, Zoom, and others, is that you have to be the strategic thinker in your organization. You have to be the strategic thinker in your organization. If you really want to be that person who everyone looks up to, if you want to be that game changer, if you want to be that person who wants to be promoted to become the MD, to become the executive director in sales, marketing, whatever it is, one of the key criteria is that you have to be a strategic thinker. Go and look for the things that make a leader. You don't have to be a doer. If you're just that person who is very tactical, who all he or she does is to do work today, you know, you can't be successful. You can't be an achiever. So it is very critical for you to learn or to better yourself or to be an expert or to build additional capability in this whole in strategy and strategic thing. Well, that's what will make you a leader. So take leadership through strategic thinking. So if you're thinking of the next promotion or you're thinking of leading your function, the first 2 points on this slide, you have to take it very seriously. And then strategic thinking really works, but it's only as good as your strategic execution. So note, you can't have a good strategy Go spend the whole 3, 4, 6 months that companies spend on strategic thinking process, have a strategy, have a strategic plan, and then you become tactical. And then you expect a good result. You will not get a good result. So ultimately, I want you to live with the fact that your strategy is only as good as your execution. In fact, some will tell you that your strategy is your execution. And then for a lot of startups that are here, or for brand managers that are here, or for assistant brand managers that are here, don't give up on your bright ideas. I mean, we've looked at the Uber case study, and I'm sure you can all read up about Airbnb, read up about Zoom, how they started. And they had a plan. Because the thing about not having a strategic plan or not going through a strategic process is that you lose out on some key fundamentals. You lose out on some key fundamentals. If you don't plan, you don't have a long-term perspective. So you don't know how to build layers, and you don't know how to measure your success. If you plan, you'll be able to say, okay, I have a plan for 3 years. And then you can have milestones. And when you have milestones, you can then measure those milestones. But the challenge is when you don't have a strategic plan, then you get too tactical and you don't measure anything. The other thing about when you have a strategic plan also is that you are able to understand your strengths and weaknesses. And then one would say, okay, but even if we don't do strategy, we know our strengths and weaknesses. Yes. But the question is, when you do a strategy, you are not taking a conscious effort to leverage your strengths and mitigate your weaknesses. So again, part of the thing you must learn from, again, this whole session and lessons from Uber is you can never have a great strategy or go through a good strategic planning process or thinking process without a great team. Because strategy requires brain power. It requires some level of knowledge. It requires some level of diversity. Because you've got to think broadly. There's got to be a lot of heavy lifting. So most times when you have the same set of people in the room who think alike, you don't get it right. So you must have a great and diverse team. You must invest in you must put in the right investments, whether it's time and resources, and you must try to create a near perfect solution. But more importantly, I would like to leave this slide by saying, if you're doing your strategy, keep it as simple. Keep it very simple. Ordinary things in an extraordinary way. Don't make it too complex. When a strategy is too complex and the execution becomes too complex, you cannot execute it. It just becomes a piece of paper. I mean, look at the Uber strategy. Look at the issues that instigated the thinking process. Look at how they went through the strategic process. Look at how they found an answer. Look at how simple the answer was. Very simple things, but solving extraordinary problems. So this is one killer slide that I want everyone to leave this session with. And if you really apply this in your day-to-day work, or if you reflect on this in any work you've done in the past, I'm sure you will see a great improvement in your results or in your desired results. So just to what we've done is to give you a tip of the iceberg. This is just what I call a sneak preview into what is to come within the marketing strategy models that ExperientialNG will be launching very soon. So for many people who are on this session, and you have people out there who are interested in building their marketing capability, who are interested in building their marketing strategy capability, I mean, I strongly believe that moving forward, ExperientialNG, will have a lot to offer. And part of the models that will be coming up in the follow-up sessions will include deepening your understanding of marketing strategy and, again, key steps in developing one. We couldn't have done that in a 45-minute session. Gain better understanding of what it means to really think and lead strategically. And this is for marketing leaders who are in the room or leaders to be. Like I said, linking strategy to execution is very important. And of course, how to measure and evaluate, because again, you can develop your strategy and you can even take it to execution. But if you're not evaluating and measuring it, I mean, how would you know you're being successful? And of course, gain better understanding on how to drive marketing efficiency and marketing effectiveness, learning how to plan and prioritize. So these are some of the models or courses, that will be coming in the future within the 2021-2022 year from Experiential NG. And in clear details, if I'm to go, there are basically two levels. The one for leaders, and that's basically leading strategically. And then for the managers who really want to build cost strategic marketing skills. And I'm sure over time they will unveil these courses to you. And like many of us, we've enjoyed marketing as a profession. We're still marketeers, and I will tell you, every right thinking organization today, marketing is the core. Marketing is the hub of every organization. So marketing is like the brain box. That's the way I tend to look at it. And if you get the strategic thinking right, then I can tell you, both as a manager, both as a leader, and both as an organization, you'll be very successful. Thank you very much for listening. We'll now take questions.